Hi there, this is Jo Fitzgerald and I'm joining you from Primary to Secondary, and we're delighted today to have Justine Williams. She is the Senior Assistant Principal at Wykham Park Academy, which is quite a large secondary school in Oxfordshire. As well as that, Justine is also the designated safeguarding lead. So, of course, that means that she gets to work with, quite a few of the more vulnerable children in the school. Justine has recently been in national newspapers. She's always asked for her opinion on things to do with education. Very, very well regarded. So we're really, really delighted to have her here with us today, and especially talking about transition. So my first question to you is, Justine, transition can be really difficult for some of the more vulnerable children in the school. Are there particular groups that struggle more?
Yeah, morning, Jo. Normally, and I'll use the word normal because we're not living anything like a normal life. So pre-COVID, the transitions we have found is difficult for our SEN children, those with attachment disorder, sometimes those with a social worker who've already had a disrupted life, those that could be young carers, or those that are working with outside agencies such as CAMS. However, this year, it could be anybody that's going to find the transition difficult because their time at primary school was cut very short for the vast majority of them. So I know our year 11s, when they left, felt a process of grief. So it's new beginnings, and they haven't finished and grown as their year 6 would normally. That was quite stunted for them. So I think we're in for interesting times.
Yeah, I agree. Part of what I do is I'm a mental health instructor, and I certainly have had lots of feedback from schools, from people that I'm training, that they're seeing all kinds of problems in children that they would have expected wouldn't have had any at all. And of course we don't know what's going on at home, do we? So that could have a huge effect. From the viewpoint of a secondary school, what do you think the consequences of all of this might be on, I suppose, academic achievement, on mental health, on behaviour? Do you think there are going to be consequences?
I think academically, and I know this is quite a controversial thing to say when we hear that they've lost 3 months of learning. Actually, students are quite robust academically. I think social interaction will be the biggest challenge for them when they come back. We came back this week and suddenly you're looking around at 70 other adults thinking, haven't done this for a while. And the students will feel exactly the same, coming back into year groups of 200, looking at people their size in the same uniforms, which they won't have had that experience. Normal, pre-COVID, they wouldn't have had the experience of being in a year group of 200, but suddenly they'll have gone possibly from being at home in their family unit since March to being back in large numbers. So I think that's the challenge for all of us.
Very much so, yeah. It's going to be a huge shift, isn't it, for everyone, teachers included, as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. What
do you think secondary schools might be able to do to improve the situation? Is there anything that you would recommend?
So this year we've gone virtual in our transition, which brings its own challenges. So normally pre-COVID, I'd have gone to every primary school, met the year 6 teacher face to face with their welfare manager. I'm the SENCO as well, so I'd have met their SENCO. So we've got a really good pen portrait of the children. We would then go back with one of the primary school's ex-students that we have, who do an open Q&A with the students coming to us, and children will always ask the things that we'd never think. Do we get our heads flushed down the toilet? No. But when they have somebody that they remember being at their school, giving them the answers. They feel really reassured. And then we get the whole year group up for 2 days. We haven't been able to do that this year. So the love of Google Meet and Zoom, I've met all the primary year 6 teachers and the SENCO and the welfare officer. So we've still got that really rich pen portrait. We've had the most vulnerable students up in bubbles from primary schools so that they know where they're coming and their parents know where they're coming. I've met them with one of our nurture practitioners so they know a face already. And we've had everything online. So we've had Meet the Teacher, virtual tours of the school done by students, again, showing younger students where they need to go, because it's not where teachers think they need to know. Where are the toilets? Where do you get your lunch from? And then we held a virtual parents' evening. That was quite a challenge.
I can imagine.
We have our year group in 3 colleges, each, so a vertical college with 10, 9, 8, 7, 10, yes, year groups. But the year 7 students and parents met their head of college and the year 7 mentors virtually. And the principal jumped into all of the meetings and myself. So we had them all running at the same time so that they had as much of a real feeling, and they saw the people and they heard us. As the only thing they haven't done is met as a year group of 200, but they all saw each other in the Google Meets as well. So that was quite nice for them.
That's incredible. It sounds like a heap of work as well.
Oh, it was.
And obviously, it sounds as though you were leading a lot of that, which is fantastic. Did you have a lot of cooperation from the primary schools? Is there anything that you think the primary schools could have been doing more of?
Well, I think we're really fortunate. We've got great relationships with all of our primary feeders. So we have a partnership meeting within the town where we meet as a secondary with the primary heads as well. So that link's already there. So that dialogue made it easier. And it's that open transparentness that we've built over the time so that the primaries trust us with their children, because it's a massive step. They've invested 6 years into these children and then they're handing them on to us. So we have a duty to get that right.
Yes. Yeah,
to the children, the parents, and our colleagues at primary. They've posted stuff. So we posted work, transition work, so that the children felt they were doing some secondary work, getting ready for it. And the primaries have signposted that to them. And we've said they can use that for children going to whichever secondary school. So I think we're fortunate because of the relationships we already have with our primary colleagues here.
Yeah, it sounds ideal because the whole process, even though we've had all these difficulties, it sounds as though it was really cohesive, for the children and for their families, which is really nice to hear. I know at primary to secondary, of course, our emphasis is on getting family engagement, getting parent engagement, and putting family right at the middle of transition. How important is it for you for that parental communication? I know you said you had a parents' evening, online, which must have been
I might not have done the 3 meetings at the same time with hindsight.
Oh, okay, yeah. But for you, parental engagement is important.
Oh, massive. We're that team around the child, the parents and the school and the child. We're in it together. We can't do it to them. We've all got to go along that journey together. We've just appointed 2 family support workers this year, pre-COVID, to build that team and build those relationships, to add that level of support to the families, because we know services are being stretched everywhere. So we don't want to leave them out on a limb. We need to support the families to support their children. We've also worked with a charity called Standing in the Gap.
Okay.
And they work with families and on transition, and we signpost families to those as well.
That sounds wonderful. Was it a challenge, I wonder? You're talking about all of this being online. And we have been hearing that, quite a lot of families actually don't have access to iPads or laptops. Or how did you get around that?
I think we were very fortunate that parents were able to join on their phone.
Okay.
For the meeting. So there was a means of joining. If they weren't, we sent paper packs home so that they didn't miss out. And we constantly talk about reducing screen time. So it is important that they have some non-screen time as well.
All of this just is music, obviously, to our ears, because, for us, it's so important that everyone is involved.
And also, sorry, Jo, we've also got the real old-fashioned telephone.
Yeah.
So we've been contacting families throughout by phone, our vulnerable families, just to check that everybody's okay, not just the children, but the families are okay. Do we need to signpost them anywhere? So we've been touching base with our vulnerable families across the academy. And this week, so we've had 3 days, and next week we're phoning those families again just to make sure they know the routine for coming in. And for our year 7s, we're there ready to meet and greet them on Monday.
That's wonderful. I'd love to be there. It's going to be fabulous, isn't it? It's going to be amazing. Everyone meeting up again and having all those experiences. It'd be wonderful. What are your thoughts? So you're here at primary to secondary. For us, a lot of it is our work is about that emotional resilience and getting children prepared, not in year 7, but actually way over in year 6. So that they are getting, ready for this huge move. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's not just the children that you need to prepare. It's the parents as well, because they'll have had that relationship with primary school, like we said, for 6 years, and suddenly they've got to build a relationship somewhere else. And sometimes their secondary school experience won't have been the best. So they're already thinking, will it happen to my little one? And it's reassuring them, actually, we're all here. And we had a little brainstorm before I came up on what our top tips would be on how we can get our parents to support their children. And part of it was we were saying, and the conversations that we're having with parents who are coming, children are coming next week, be prepared. Check their uniform fits. Check they've got all their equipment. Check they know which way they're going to walk to school. Just so that you've removed that initial panic of, I don't know where my shoe is, I don't know where my sock is. Get it out, get it ready, try it on. We also thought it was really important that parents are positive. You can have a great time. And they will feel anxious, parents and children, but that's normal. And it's normalising that anxiety. We all felt a little anxious. Our hearts were a little quicker when we all came back this week. But that's normal, and it's about supporting them. If it's exaggerated anxiety, how we can help them to minimise that. So we work with Place to Be, mental health charity. We've got a Place to Be manager at school who helps all of us to help our students. So we have all of our teachers are mental health champion trained. It's a massive area of focus for us. And then we also thought it's really important that we tell the parents and the children to be prepared to ask. Ask if they don't know something. Ask if they're not sure. Ask if they don't know what to do next, because that's normal. But also for the parents to ask the children what's gone well today. That positive spin. Not have you had a good day, because as they morph into teenagehood, it's like, actually, what's gone well? And if something hasn't gone well, how could it have gone better? And then communicate that with us. Don't sit and dwell on something that might be minor, because if they sit and dwell on a minor thing, before you know it, that's a really big issue, and it's much harder to unravel.
My next question was your top tips, actually, but you've obviously just done that. For us, we recognise, because obviously as part of our work, we did an awful lot of research on, papers around transition. And one of the papers really identified, of course, that it's parents that go through a transition as well. It's not just that move to a new school. It's also letting your child have that much more independence, looking at the safety aspects around that. It really is a big move for parents as well, isn't it?
And certainly in the current climate where everything has been very tight as a family and tight within a community, suddenly some of our children walk over a mile every day. We have very few bust-ins, so they genuinely are letting them go. And that's a big step, and their days will be longer and they'll be out of the house longer and they'll be meeting different children that you're just hearing that name. You don't know what they look like. You don't know where they live. So it is supporting the parents to support their children so that anxieties don't build in either. Because if a parent's anxious, the child will be anxious.
Yeah, very much so. Part of what we do is upskilling parents, because, we can be doctors or lawyers or, work in, be a taxi driver, work in a shop, whatever. We can be really good at our jobs, but it doesn't mean that we're all really good at all aspects of parenting. I certainly wasn't, and I'm a teacher. So, for me, as you say, it's really important to send those messages and to get parents to know, what is important.
And life's different to when they were children coming to school. Even for our youngest parents, life's moved on. The power of social media and how to keep children safe now is a different world than who they will physically meet. It's who will they virtually meet, and how do you educate the parents to support their children to do that? Yeah.
It just sounds as though you're doing a fab job, and we got to know you through the article, obviously, in the Guardian.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. But also your website is fantastic. So maybe people listening to this, teachers or school leadership, would like to contact you maybe, and especially after this, you've given such amazing insights into what you've been doing to support the school community, really. Would you be okay for people contacting you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, either through my email or we have a transition email. So we set up a transition email account for these very questions, because that was easier for parents to go to transition than to go through my name, because I'm inundated with emails.
I can imagine. Well, thanks so much. We'll put your details obviously up so that people can contact you, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of people doing that. It just remains for me to thank you so much for being here. This has been just amazing. You've given us so much wonderful information, and good luck for next week. I hope it all goes well.
We're positive. Really, great. We're excited, and it's so lovely to see children again.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, thank you so much, Justine. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Jo.
Thank you.